24/7, 365. The fantasy season never dies. Welcome to Every Day is Draft Day. Presented by Champions Round.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Every Day is Draft Day, episode 10. We made it to double digits. Hooray.
Yes.
I'm Dan Turner, your host as always, and joining me, my wonderful co-host, Stephie Smalls. What's up, Steph?
What's going on? Doing a little traveling this week, so you can see my lovely hotel room. This really pretty portrait behind me here. It's not as pretty as your background now, which looks fantastic.
Yes, did it today. It's awesome. Yes. But yeah, so week 6. We're gonna talk some Gino, some Giants. Your favorite topic.
I'm not talking about them.
We are. But before we get all that, I just have a little announcement. We're giving away a Myles Gaskin and Laviska Shenault signed jersey for the London game this week between the Dolphins and Jags. To enter, you just need to DM at Champions Round on Instagram or Twitter, with the key phrase being Danny Dimes. So you just tweet at on Instagram or Twitter at Champions Round that phrase, and you're entered to win either a Myles Gaskin or Laviska Shenault signed jersey. So definitely
Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes. Danny's hurt.
Yeah, but he looks like he's doing, it seems like he's getting through concussion protocol. So I think that they're going to keep saying that, but there's a chance he actually might play Sunday.
Yeah, that was a bad hit. It looked like he was knocked out cold.
Scary.
Lights on, no one's home. But we're going to start with someone we thought we would never actually have to discuss again, Gino Smith. With Russell Wilson kind of destroying his finger against a shoulder pad of one Aaron Donald, Gino Smith came in and actually performed like an NFL quarterback, something we haven't seen from him pretty much ever. 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, had 3 rushes for 23 yards. So with Russell Wilson hurt for the next couple of weeks, do you think that Gino Smith is good enough to keep Seattle in the running for the playoffs?
It's hard with these backups too, because we see them come in a lot of times and play really well because they're in their backup quarterback role and being a savior kind of thing. So I think next week or this week, however, he should show us if he's someone that's really serviceable. But I mean, I am in a situation where I had to pick him up. There was leagues where there's literally there's no other options. I have Daniel Jones. I can't rely that he's definitely going to play, or I also have Russell. So he's better than relying on, I don't know, them putting Andy Dalton back in the game. I mean, there's not really many options right now. So if you're kind of screwed for a quarterback, he's your guy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, it was a shock to everyone that he played as well as he did, but he's been in that system for a couple of years now. And it definitely helps that he has a really good supporting cast. He was targeting, made DK Metcalf owners happy because he targeted him more than Russell's been doing lately, and also with Tyler Lockett, and then the tight ends. So I think that with Gerald Everett coming back from COVID, I think that if he just plays within the system, and I know that's cliche to say, but based on what he did, it's going to be interesting to see with a full week a team that's getting ready for him and not Wilson, how he's going to do.
Right. And it's better than, please do not rely on Mike Glennon. I would much rather, I feel more comfortable in my heart telling you to pick up Gino Smith than I do Mike Glennon. Not that I don't love Mike Glennon, but I think that Gino Smith, again, like you said, as long as he plays with the system, uses his supporting cast. I think Everett coming back is going to be huge for him too. That should be very helpful. He just has, hopefully he doesn't turn over the ball too much, because I think he did have 1 interception, and he wasn't in for very long too. So, but again, you get panicky. You're still a backup quarterback. So but he's he's a good option. He didn't rack up too many points, but how many quarters was he wasn't in that long either.
No,
so.
It's like two something, 2.5.
Yeah.
It wasn't long,
Yeah, but I think he serves well. I picked him up myself, and he's good backup. And I totally forgot, now that we have bye weeks, which is crazy. It's felt like we've had bye weeks. We actually have it.
Nope.
And then I'm going to set my rosters. I'm like, God, this is really ugly.
It seems like we've had bye weeks because everyone else is hurt or hasn't performed well. And now we have actual bye weeks. So the players that are doing well for you aren't playing now. So now you're really screwed. Thank you. Hint, hint, Alvin Kamara. So moving on to keeping with the quarterbacks, which we're going to talk about a lot today, we're going to go with Justin Fields. Justin Fields had a decent game, 12 of 20, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. didn't really, seem to be playing like pretty safe in the system. Do you expect Chicago to maybe open it up a little bit as the season goes on with him, or do you feel like there's just going to be like a ball control offense and he's not going to be able to really hit the heights that many like projected him to have when he was named the starter?
I really hope so, because he stinks for fantasy football right now. Like, he's not doing well. I think he last week maybe QB 31. He's just not. They got to get him rushing. That I think it's I think Chicago's a little bit more broken than I thought. So I'm hoping that they still can figure out how to make a game script that involves him, and also, everyone on that team, just like we said, supporting cast. But they need to support him a little bit better over there. I think even if you're someone that had like me, I have to take Daniel Jones out. Probably I'm gonna play Fields this week because I have to. But I think they'll get him going. He's got to start cooking, right?
Yeah, you think so, right? If they let him. I mean, I don't have any faith in the coaching staff to utilize his potential, which he has a lot of. Like, he should be, they should be doing more of that like the Ravens like ball control thing where they use his rushing and then give him like the safe throws. Because Allen Robinson isn't really helping anybody this year. Honestly, he's been a huge disappointment for a guy that has been Mr. Consistent. It hasn't mattered who his quarterback is, for pretty much like a decade now. But it seems like not even he is immune to Matt Nagy. So I mean, if Fields can use what he has and they give him in the position to succeed, I think he'll do well. I just can't trust him to do that, which is unfortunate because a lot of people were excited about what Fields could do. It just isn't working out that way with the coaching. It's not a talent.
And I know it's not like he wasn't at practice getting the reps and stuff too. I'm sure so it's weird that it just doesn't look like it's working. So I don't know what's going on, but I hope so. I mean, Fields is we know him from college. We know he's an exceptional passer, and then he also has that mobility that we love in fantasy football. So I'd love to see us get both of those and really start getting him cooking because he has all the potential. I think this is more coaching problem than it's necessary Fields himself, because he needs to be out there too as a rookie. Like, it's time for him to just take the training wheels off and get it going.
Absolutely. He's a much different quarterback than Andy Dalton is. And if Matt Nagy is, so like hell-bent on saving his job, like he should be, because, as a coach, you should want to save your job. You should do what's best for Fields and put him in the position he needs with the talent around him to succeed. But it just seems like he's not. I don't know why. He just isn't a good coach, is what it is. So hopefully either something turns around or Fields gets a new one next year. But right now for fantasy, he's definitely not performing anywhere near what people hoped he would be.
No, he's not. And I think I'm done with the Nagy experiment. Like, I think I'm good. I think I've had enough.
Everyone's probably good with that, honestly, except the rest of the NFC North. They hope he stays there forever. So going a complete 180, the opposite end of the spectrum, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray throwing 75% of his passes completed, 1,512 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks, 30 rushes, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pretty much in the driver's seat for MVP at this point. Is this the real Kyler Murray now? Has he fully realized his potential? Do you think he can get better? Do you think he'll slide? Do you think he'll stay as it is? What's going on in Arizona?
I think this is it. I mean, I ranked him as my QB1, and I meant it when I did that. I absolutely love Kyler Murray, and it's beautiful. I didn't even know, I knew that he could develop more, but I mean, boy, does he look good on the field. I think through 5 weeks, QB6, but he's putting up numbers, and you can't. That rushing ability is crazy. It's seriously awesome to watch. I mean, he's probably one of my favorite players to watch in the league right now. Mm-hmm. The way he's able to get out of the pocket and just duke everyone is so awesome.
He is a cheat code right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's QB6 right now. Going through
crazy.
But I mean, you talk about everyone throws around even we throw on Konami quarterbacks. But he is the Konami quarterback. He is the cheat code.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were hesitant with Kingsbury and how he was going to develop in that system, coming from college and stuff. But it seems like this year is he finally put it all together, and he has an absolute stud wide receiver cast that anyone else in the league would love to have. So
Hopkins
I think
has been a little disappointing, so I'm hoping that we can get him more involved. That would be my hope. But Kyler Murray, I'm never going to be off unless he starts stinking, which I really don't think is in his repertoire. I don't think it's going to end up happening.
Right. Yeah, and it's not like for Hopkins. I think it's not even that he's stinking. I just think that there's more targets now
Hmm.
around him that deserve the ball with AJ Green, having a mini career renaissance and more and Kirk. So having those other guys, maybe Hopkins doesn't need to carry the load as much, and that's why he's not performing as
Yeah.
that sucks for us as fantasy players because
But it's
when we
better for the
get to them.
Cardinals, and that's why
Right,
we're
yeah,
seeing the Cardinals sitting pretty at 5-0 because
right,
they
yeah,
have more than Hopkins. They actually
right,
have a game plan until Max Williams got hurt. They also were actually getting a tight end involved, which we
right.
haven't seen them do. So I think that they really do have a full set of weapons to use, and you know what, they're doing a good job using them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's definitely more of a NFL move than fantasy move. They don't really care about us fantasy players if they're what they're doing means they're
Yeah.
undefeated and everything. So I think it's one of the things where we can just keep complaining, but it's not going to really help us out too much. Not to say that Hopkins is bad. He just isn't like the top like 10 option, top 5 option we thought he
Yeah.
would be going into the season. But that's just how the season has been for all the positions. Either everyone at running back is hurt at some point, or wide receivers and tight ends just are disappointing. So unless you have like one of the 20, 25 people that have been consistently good this entire year, then you're going to be disappointed in your fantasy leagues. But
Yeah.
hopefully, Hopkins' talent is undeniable, so I think he's going to rebound a little bit. I don't think he's going to be, as low as he is now, but I don't think he's going to get as high as we wanted him to be, the top three, like we wanted him to be going into the season.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, now we
Oh,
talk about the
no.
New York Giants.
I don't want to.
I don't want to either, but here we are. So, speaking of injured players, I actually have a tryout with the Giants tomorrow because they are running out of people to, catch the ball. No, QB has a concussion. Barkley hurt his ankle. No left tackle. The top four receivers are dinged up. Evan Ingram is the healthiest person on the roster on offense right
Oh,
now. That's how
gross.
bad it is. So with everything going on, but the good news is Kadarius Toney had a mini breakout of sorts against Dallas, where he pretty much wrecked them. 10 catches, 189 yards. So do you think that even with people healthy, what do you think Tony's potential is going forward for the rest of this year?
Yeah, I keep hearing it's funny. I got a lot of flack on Twitter. I was joking around that, everyone's picking him up off waivers, but I've always had him, on my roster and Dynasty. Like I have been picking him up. I kind of knew at some point he's your first round pick, which is absurd. But you picked him in the first round, so they needed to use him. And yes, I think that because of Jason Garrett and because of his limited playbook and his limited mind, I think that the only reason why we saw Tony's little breakout is yes, because people are injured. That's exactly what happened. It's kind of pathetic that he was there this whole time and we were not using him. It's upsetting, and that's kind of on the coaching staff. But I think we saw Darius Slayton too. I don't know why they continuously use him. I think Darius Slayton is not living up to what some people thought Darius Slayton was. It has the dropsies just like Evan Ingram does. And Shep is apparently supposed to be healthy. So, I think Tony will continue whether or not those guys come back. And none of those guys are even known for being healthy players.
Right.
Slayton and Shep get hurt all the time. And Galladay does too. So I think that he will still have a role no matter what. And again, this will be one of those, it's going to be one of those bad teams with good fantasy players like
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones. If Saquon, is able to come back, it seems like the sprain wasn't as bad as it did look. And I think everyone freaked out when they saw the swelling, but usually sprains swell up like that. That's like not an abnormal
Right.
thing. Sprains usually look worse than fractures. So they're saying I bet he'll be out. I mean, he had an ankle sprain in 2019. He came back in 3 weeks, which is impressive. So he could do it in 2 weeks. But again, if they're going to keep racking up injuries like this, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
They're really inconsistent. Kenny Galladay again, super disappointing, but not totally unexpected. But I think that Tony is he the most reliable source of fantasy points now? Like what?
Yes. No. Would as not just as a fan, but as a fantasy player, do you pick up and trust Devontae Booker to carry the load now that Barkley's here for a couple weeks?
Yeah, I think Booker actually looked pretty decent, and I think with everyone else out, they're gonna have to use Booker too. And I did pick him up because again, in some of these, really shallow leagues, it's hard. What are you going to do if you have Saquon Barkley? You have no one on your bench, or you have bye weeks. I mean, you got to go and get Booker. I got outbidded. Some of the $68 they fab on them. What crap? I said like 21. I'm like, I'm not going over that for Booker.
Mm-hmm.
No. But you have to in some of these leagues, and that stinks. This is the part of the season where it just gets messy.
Yeah. With Bobby, I'm surprised they only had any fab left after everyone used it on Elijah Mitchell. But I got to give, like, I know everyone hates on Jason Garrett, but I also got to give credit to Daniel Jones. I mean, when you're working with your like 5th, 6th, and 7th receivers as your starters, and you're still looking pretty decent. I mean, no one is looking for John Ross, Colin Johnson, and C.J. Board and saying, "Oh, look, these guys are good for fantasy." No, that was never happening in the beginning of the season. But those guys are playing, a lot of snaps now because of all the injuries in front of them. And when Slayton and Shepard and Galley come back, like, to your point, they're not the healthiest players to begin with. But there's a case to be made, I think, where maybe you do give John Ross more time, maybe over Darius Slayton, because Slayton hasn't really given you anything. And maybe, Ross was a first round pick, and everyone was like super excited because he ran the fastest 40 in the history of the world, and that's all that's important apparently. But he showed that he had some good talent. So I hope that that they give these younger guys like Tony and Ross, even when Slayton and Shepard and Galladay come back, that they give them more time, because it's plainly obvious that most of the NFC East is garbage and not really going anywhere. So it's good to give them those snaps and that build that rapport with Daniel Jones and for the future of the team.
Yeah, and once if Shep is playing, I'm sorry. As long as Daniel Jones is, I don't know that I'm gonna play. I feel actually more comfortable with Tony Glennon, whoever is the quarterback, than I do Shep. But if Daniel Jones is in and Shepard is in, I'm also Shepard is a starter in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played very well, and I think we saw that. And he's been the most reliable guy for Danny. So
Absolutely, yeah. I would definitely play Tony now over Slayton. Even when all of them are healthy, I think he definitely at least earned that much. But again, coaches don't always do what's best. But not that we're geniuses ever, but it's pretty obvious that it's more talent than most of the other receivers in that room.
Right.
Staying with the NFC East, going from your team to mine. So the Eagles apparently have decided that they don't feel like running the ball this year at all. That is adversely affected Miles Sanders greatly. He only has 325 total yards rushing, receiving, and 0 touchdowns on the year. And he was a guy that a lot of people were expecting, to have that solid running back 2 with running back 1 upside, and he's been like running back like 56 for the year. Do you see that continuing? And does the presence of Kenneth Gainwell mean that the time is coming to an end, that Miles Sanders is going to be a running back that you can trust in fantasy?
Yeah, I don't know what is going on with that backfield. It's like you just cut your running backs. You're not even using them. I don't even know what's going on. And I don't know if is part of that hurts. Is that it like something that's playing a role in their rushing ability for these guys? Like, is he totally taking those over? It must be. But again, they got to get the ball. Right, you gotta run a little bit. You gotta figure something out. And he's not someone I was really ever targeting regardless. So I unfortunately did get out of that a little bit. But it stinks because he was getting drafted. Sorry, but
go ahead. I said run away from him. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll continue.
No, sorry, your team. I don't know what they're doing. At least Jalen Hurts is like I think I saw today he's the only player that has finished top 12 in his position through all 5 weeks. So, you sent it to me. But
yes.
But yeah, at least Jalen Hurts looks good.
Yeah. That's one thing at least I got right. Yeah, I think the Eagles as a team have rushed like 113 times. And that's between, Gainwell and Hurts and Sanders. So I don't understand what they're doing, like as a fan and fantasy, when you have these good backs. And the play calling has been suspect too, especially this past week when they seemed like half the plays were going horizontally as like screens instead of going down the field. So I am very concerned about the future for Sanders. And to be honest, like Gainwell in less work has outperformed him. He's looked faster. The Eagles trust him on the goal line more, and he's
Yeah.
their 2 minute back when before the half, and that's something that that was Sanders' job.
Yeah.
Boston Scott last year had
I love Boston Scott. I was just about to say his name. I'm so
yeah.
sad. I can't. I won't drop him. I don't care. I love Boston Scott. I think he's a phenomenal back, and I'm gonna
He,
hang on for dear hope that he is
he
able to
would
get in the game, which I don't think is happening. But oh,
Yeah, I'd enjoy him too. He was a good back for what he did, but with Gainwell coming in, he's been considered irrelevant. Which, I mean, it might they should give him a couple of carries. I think he earned that, but I guess not. But yeah, this whole 65 passes to 3 rushes ratio that we seem to be going on every week is just not working.
yeah,
It's not going to be what Hurts has only that was only his ninth NFL start, and you're not doing him any favors. He's not the type of guy that's going to throw 55, 60 times a game and you're going to be successful. He just isn't there yet as a quarterback. He's not. So I just think it's a big error, and it's really hurting, both Sanders and Gainwell's value to pretty much non-existent now
yeah,
because they're not even getting the opportunities to do anything with the ball, much less.
right.
And then
And
and
you
it's
have all new coaching, and you have a new quarterback. Really, only played 4 games last, so it's expected a little bit, but I don't think it's playing out exactly how anyone was expecting.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, hopefully, they change around and make the offense more balanced and help Hurts out, and maybe that brings Sanders. I don't think he's definitely not going to be as relevant as people wanted him to be. Continuing the season, a disappointment for early picks for everyone. But hopefully, they balance it out where he can get some opportunity. Maybe he becomes a flex play, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Speaking of muddled backfields, we have the Atlanta Falcons for our last topic of the day. Mike Davis was someone that got the job, but a lot of people he split Twitter and the fantasy community. A lot of people thought he was going to be good. He was going to get a lot of opportunities, and others thought he wasn't. And then Cordero Patterson came in and destroyed his hopes and dreams. Patterson is currently number 5. He's got dual eligibility on most platforms, running back, wide receiver. So Mike Davis has 292 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Patterson has 468 total yards and 5 touchdowns with 40% of the work. So do you think this spells the end of Mike Davis being considered anything worth anything in fantasy for this year?
That's confusing. And I think we saw Davis last week kind of have his, I joked, I tweeted, I was like, oh, he had his touchdown. Now is the time to get rid of him. Like, when people are high on him, get rid of him, because we've seen that when everyone is healthy, everyone's there, Ridley's there, he's not really in the picture. So I think that's why we saw more production out of him last week, is just because they didn't have everyone. I don't think that the plan is to have him very actively in this playbook, and I think we've seen that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I was one of the ones that was pretty high on Davis coming out because I thought he was, opportunity and volume are king for running backs. And I thought I didn't see, before this year, Patterson was like a gadget player and a special teams guy, and he's turned into this. He's going to win people fantasy leagues, honestly, with how he's performing. No one would say that he was going to be the number 5 back going to week 6. No, not one person thought he was going to be anywhere near that. I mean, it just shows how unpredictable this season has been. But I think he's definitely the most dynamic of the two. I think with the injuries to Ridley and Gage, he's going to get more passes now, and the addition of running the backfield. I mean, Pitts right now is their only consistent pass catcher that's healthy. So I think with the way they're throwing the ball and the lack of,
and no one expected Patterson to be so excellent too, right? So that's playing a huge role. He's really a very much important part of them and their offensive scheme that they're using.
Right, exactly. So I think going forward, I think we can. Everyone is expecting Patterson to fall off, the wagon, and I just question but why? He's they're building. I'm not saying they're building the offense around, but he's become a key part of their offense. I mean, there's not there's a lot of people ahead of him now that are going to. I mean, it's basically Ridley and Pitts, and that's pretty much it. So I just he probably won't be running back 5 at the end of the year, but to think that he's just going to fall off a cliff and go back to that relevance is, I think, rather short-sighted for people. Okay, well,
Poor Mike Davis, I feel bad for them. But do we actually feel bad for them? No, we just are mad about our fantasy teams.
I don't feel bad for anybody about anything. Except maybe Giants fans. I feel a little bit bad for Giants fans because your entire team is hurt. But other than that, No. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Every Day is Draft Day. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to enter that contest for the Gaskin and Chenault jerseys. Steph, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yep. MySpace, farmers.com. No. Stephie Smalls with 3 L's on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. All the normal social platforms. Not that they're not normal. And you can find all of my stuff and Dan's on all of our Champions Round platforms as well. And go check out our giveaways because we're doing some really awesome ones to the point where I'm mad this is my employer.
Yeah. And the games are fun. Check out the app. The games are a lot of fun. Try them out. Give them a shot. You'll love them. You'll get hooked, and you won't never go back to regular DFS. Yeah. You can find me, with Steph here every week. You can find my articles every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Waivers, trades, and weekly preview. And follow me on Twitter at EagleDanFF. So everyone, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Sorry about those bye weeks. Enjoy the Thursday night football, and go Birds.
Good luck this week.
We're going to be killed.